Hey everyone, so I'm reading Words of Radiance. I'm about 130 pages in and I'm confused and excited, which is, a pretty Brandon Sanderson feeling combination, if I'm honest. That happens to me quite a lot. And I'm confused once again about the Spren, but again, I'm excited about the Spren as well because we've learned quite a lot about their worlds, even though we probably only know like 5% of really what's going on because of the size of the story still to come and the integral part that I would guess the Spren have to play. But let's be excited about what we have so far. Let me talk about what I've learned about the Spren. So if I've understood it, the Spren are the realm of the mind. And that realm was created by humans because only humans really have the cognitive ability of a mind in the way that we know it in our world, but in this world, the world of the book, potentially that's not true. Maybe some other creatures are able to access that as well. I wouldn't be surprised if they couldn't. But anyway, so there's the soul, the mind, and the body, and the Spren make up the mind. They are essentially humans giving humanity to ideas, is how I've understood it. And also the Spren felt betrayed previously, and I actually kind of guessed this or alluded to it at least in my last video that it was maybe the betrayal of the heralds and the oath breaking of the heralds, and that appears to be along the right lines, so I feel pretty good about that. And we figure out that every radiant has two talents, I think they're called, and for example, and it's tied to those Spren. It's kind of like when a Spren bonds with you. So I don't know if two Spren need to bond with you actually. I doubt it. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. For example, Kaladin and Syl. Syl definitely seems to be related to the wind, but she's also an honor Spren. So that's like her combination is wind and honor Spren. I don't know what Zeph's is, and I don't know what his Spren would be, because, I mean, is the Spren related to the Oath Stone? I highly doubt it, but I don't know. And I don't know if it's honor Spren that is tied to Zeph, or if it's a wind Spren, because he has obviously a bunch of similarities to Kaladin. I think it's an honor Spren because he talks about honor quite a lot. But he also, the Shin talk about the truth, and he says he's truthless as well. So there's so much that's coming, and I feel like it's so densely interwoven with each other that I feel like I'm like pulling on something. It's like a spider's web. Like something's moving over here, but because of the way everything's like connected, I feel it like over there, and I'm jumping at ghosts a bit. So I just feel like it's all connected, but I don't know how. And obviously it is. But anyway, we're getting some good information. So other things we learn is that there's 10 fundamental surges. So as far as I know, we know a few of them. Obviously, Jasnah and Shalorn share soul casting. We have the honor Spren, or like surge binding kind of thing. I don't know if surge binding is just the general term overall for what they're doing, because there's 10 surges, right? You'd be like binding two of them together maybe, or binding them to yourself. But anyway, so those guys seem to be able to change the gravity of where things are. I don't know if that's wind or honor related. What else do we have? Shalorn's is strange. I don't really know what her second one is, even though I do think that Jasnah maybe mentioned it, but I can't remember off the top of my head because there's so much going on. But I am excited to not only understand more about Zeph's, understand about Jasnah's, because we see Jasnah's Spren. It's the oily figure that was from the prologue as well, who weirdly like seemed to try and attack her in the first place. We also learn that Shalorn's Spren is like a prince of like a city full of lies or something like that, and it's a lie Spren, even though they don't like that name. So really maybe it's a truth Spren. I'm really not understanding, but I am doing a lot of enjoying, and I just feel like I need to let it go and accept that that's where I'm at in the book, because it's a lot of enjoying and not a whole bunch of comprehending and understanding, and things will become clearer as I go along. Even the supposed shards that I think are on this planet. So we have cultivation, we have the Almighty, and I don't know what his real shard name is, but they don't seem at all like they're opposites, cultivation and the Almighty. So, you know, they're probably not. And then I feel like the void, it's mentioned that the void spren have a god. Don't know how that works. Don't know how that's tied into it. As I mentioned before, the opposite of cultivation is desolation. Odium seems to be very desolation-esque. And is that the Stormfather? Is he the Stormfather? Is Odium the Stormfather? Is desolation and the Stormfather the same thing? There can't be an odd number of shards, right? So I have the Almighty, I have the cultivation, and then I have Odium, the Stormfather, desolation potentially, or maybe there's something completely different to the void spren worship. Once again, I'm enjoying myself but very confused, and I would hope that you guys were just as confused at this moment in the book. I feel like I've had a huge info dump, quite a Sanderson-esque info dump at the start of this book, and yeah, I do remember feeling a little bit overwhelmed and confused in the previous books when he's done something similar as well. We also get a mention in one of Dalinar's visions of Sajar Anat, and I don't know how relevant that is, but that felt like it was an important figure. Maybe that's the name of one of the shards, you know, their real name before they absorb 1/16 of Adonalsium and become a shard. I truly don't know, but his visions are fun, as always. On to something a bit more tangible. We have Shalon, and basically there's a little voice in her head. I think the voice is either just her memory or the spren, because her spren doesn't seem to talk. Her spren's a bit mute in comparison to everybody else's. It's a pattern that, and it's strange because it moves on to everything else. But basically it says, like, it's very much focused around her telling the truth, so that's why I would guess it is her spren. And it mentions, I'm going to quote it here, it mentions, you grew up with horrors, you just won't let yourself remember them. Why did she kill her father is my question. I mean, it could just be the mundane but still horrible reasons that her father was just horrible and horrific to her and her brothers growing up. I don't know if there was like any abuse. Well, there must have been abuse, right? Like, there's a reason she killed her father, but is that what Sanderson's trying to make me believe? Is there another reason she killed her father and then the abuse wasn't actually from him, it was from like something or someone completely different? There's a shard blade involved. I would guess she got that from her father. She was beat. I remember pretty clearly that she beat up one of her brothers at a minimum. So I'm not really sure what it would be, but I'm very interested in that storyline, and I'm hoping that's what we're going to see. We're going to, like we got the flashbacks for Kaladin last book, I'm hoping we're going to get these flashbacks for Shalon. And if her spren is like a truth spren or a lie spren, as she tells these truths to herself, I think her spren will probably reveal more of itself to her and endear itself. Because as Kaladin showed honor, Syl basically endeared herself more to Kaladin, or Kaladin endeared himself more to her by showing honor. So as she shows truth to herself, maybe this spren appeared to the person who kind of needs what they have, is the furthest from it, and that's why the union kind of makes them whole, like a whole radiant or something along those lines. But yes, as Shalon gives the truth, not only do I get to see the truth, which is going to be very exciting, but she is going to become a radiant through that and get more powers. And I'm interested to see what her powers are, because she must have some other cool ones, you know? And Jasnah fixes a bunch of Shalon's problems almost immediately. She betroths her to Adolin. I don't know if I like that as a matchup romantically. In fact, I don't like it as a matchup romantically from what I've seen of both of them. But I do really like it as a plot device to move us forwards. What it means is that when Shalon arrives to the Shattered Plains, if she ever gets there, she is immediately relevant. And I could see a bunch of different things happening. So I don't think her and Adolin are a good matchup at all. The fact that Alokar is single, maybe something goes down because Adolin's about to do all of this dueling, which I think is an incredible storyline, by the way. Incredible that he's going to start dueling these other princes, and they're going to find ways to corner them so that they have to decide to duel. And maybe Kaladin steps in on one of these duels, Because if Adeline loses, then they have like pretty much 0 shard plate and blade. So someone would have to go in and go and win one for their army to be relevant. And Kaladin's the only person we know that can beat somebody in shard plate and blade while they don't have it, other than Zeph, obviously. So yeah, that's an interesting storyline. But anyway, there's a chance that Adeline could die, especially if he's going to be doing these battles. So maybe she gets betrothed to Elokar, or I don't know. I kind of hope that she doesn't end up with Adeline. I think it's a poor matchup. But I also was a bit like, are we going to get a Shalorn Kaladin romance? And I kind of hope not. And I just don't want like a poor romance for either of those characters, because I really do like both of these characters a lot. And it's not that Sanderson is terrible at romance. There's a couple, or there's one in particular that I remember from the Mistborn trilogy that I actually kind of liked. It was Sazed, and I forget her name now, but the other Terraceman or Terrace woman. Really liked their romance. Thought it was, you know, very well done and quite different. And in Warbreaker romances, yeah, I quite liked the romance between the princess and like the God King. So that was quite good as well. So Sandersons aren't terrible, but I'm reading fantasy. I don't particularly love a ton of romance thrown in there for the sake of it, especially not a long drawn out romance. For example, like Vin and the Prince in Mistborn, didn't really like it. I hate those ones where it's just back and forth and they don't even appear to like each other most of the time, but they love each other. Anyway, I'm going on a bit of a rant here. Tell me what you think about romance inside of fantasy. I think sometimes it's very well done, sometimes it isn't, which is a blunt statement, but a broad sweeping statement. But when it's done badly, it doesn't ruin the book, but it definitely takes away a lot of my enjoyment when I know the next, you know, when it's about to start, and you can see like the next couple of chapters, and some chapters are wholly devoted to them not liking each other and trying to understand each other, and it just feels so playground and childish. Anyway, that's my rant over. So we'll see where her love interests go and where they lie, but Jasnah is amazing. I maybe love Jasnah. I think she's awesome. She's so well put together. And then she appears to die immediately afterwards. But I'm of the firm belief, especially in fantasy, of the saying, no body, no death. So although we appear to see her like dying, she's somebody who can soul cast. She can turn one thing into another. And I'm pretty certain we get Shalorn sending out like a version of herself or a lie of herself like up and away, so that those who did the murder chase it. Is it that hard to believe that Jasnah did the same thing herself? The only thing for her like dying body, like a fake one, the only thing that would maybe change my mind is because Navani, and I'm pretty certain it's Navani's head notes, say that Jasnah dying is not something we all foresaw. But it's, you know, if she really did pull one over everybody else and she's not really dead, like Navani wouldn't know that immediately, and maybe the notes are not that far ahead, so maybe we don't get the two women heading straight to the Shattered Plains. Maybe we see a different storyline for them completely, which will be upsetting because I was looking forward to them all being together in one place, but we have a long series to go, so it's a possibility not. So my money is on Jasnah not being dead, partly because I don't want her to be. She's an incredible character. We have so much to learn from her, and I just enjoy her well put togetherness and influence over Shalorn. So fingers crossed she's alive. So back to the Shattered Plains, we get a warning. I think it's 62 days. The end is nigh, and it kind of surprised me. I don't think it's the Everstorm coming, even though Dalinar seems certain, but he's been certain about, you know, things before. I think maybe it's something different. The Parshendi ever stopped doing plateau assaults for the Chasm Fiends gem hearts, meaning that they feel like it's near the end as well. But I'm just getting a feeling it's not the Everstorm, because I thought the Everstorm was going to be our big final crescendo of this entire series. So unless I'm massively overestimating the intensity of what the Everstorm is going to be, I thought that's the final all cards on the table moment. Unless these 10 books that I've been told Stormlight Archive is set over the next 62 days, it would be quite impressive if that's the case. But again, I highly doubt it. I feel like something else is coming in 62 days. Maybe just the assault from the Parshendi, or maybe it's just the Parshmen turning back into Parshendi and attacking everybody, because I just don't think that what Jasnah and Shalon think is the final desolation in the Everstorm. I don't think it's the Parshendi, the Parshmen becoming Parshendi. I just don't think that's the case. And I was thinking about Parshmen and Parshendi. I was thinking, maybe, do the Parshendi potentially have a spren in them? Maybe. Are they spren related? Possibly. Maybe the Parshendi are like the Radiance of... no, they'd be way cooler. Well, I mean, they're lacking a song, right? The Parshmen are lacking a song, and Spren seem pretty musical, even though we haven't had any reference to music, but they just seem like happier and exciting, and they animate, so I think that they would maybe animate. So I feel like obviously the Spren and the Parshmen, they must be related somehow, and I feel like maybe the Spren go into the Parshmen and Barshdi become Parshendi somehow, but that wouldn't make them evil, I don't think, so... confused. So Dalinar needs to refound the order. He has Kaladin under his nose. Potentially he's got Shalon come in. The big question is, where are the rest? And how does it Zeph incorporate into this? I have a strong feeling that he shows up in this book, tries to kill Dalinar. Maybe Kaladin battles him, and he finds a kindred spirit there, because it seems like Zeph has had these surge binding abilities for quite a long time. He's clearly at ease with his abilities and knows how to use them, and therefore maybe he'll be quite surprised to see somebody else with those abilities. I feel like I haven't done a bunch of good predictions. I feel relatively confused this time around as to what's going on. There's so much information. Hopefully the next section will allow me to understand a bit more and then be able to start working towards what's going to happen. But I must say I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I'm so happy we picked up immediately where we left off, and all the storylines are kind of going at a breakneck pace already. What am I most excited about? Obviously I'm most excited to learn more about the Spren and how these powers work. I'm very excited for the Shattered Plains, and because it's going to be a lot of politicking. It feels like politicking, but on a timer of 62 days. I love a bit of politics inside of a fantasy book or inside of any book, so that's going to be good. I'll be very disappointed if the other storyline turns out that Jasnah is in fact dead, because I just was very much looking forward to having her as part of our storyline for longer. So we shall see what's up next. I appreciate you guys watching. I know I haven't done a bunch of predictions this time around, but tell me, were you as confused as me? Were you as happy and confused as I am at this moment? I hope so. I hope I'm not just behind the curve on understanding. But that's part of the fun, right? I know I'm doing these videos where it's you have to predict, well, I don't have to predict, but where I predict what's happening moving forwards. But part of the fun is reading is just being hopelessly lost and confused, and I feel like I'm there right now, so it feels kind of good. I'll see you guys on the next video. Please like and subscribe, it helps the channel, and see you next Sunday. Actually, before I go, one more thing I was thinking of. The other brother, Renarin, Dalinar's other son, he's got to be really good at something. Like, there's going to be something that comes up and it's going to be like, oh, Renarin can do this, or Renarin's fantastic at that, or, you know, I just feel like he's being overlooked so much. I think he's going to do something big. And that is truly so maybe that's my big prediction this time round, and it's very unrelated to anything that I read, but I think Renarin may do something big. Truly, I will see you next Sunday. Thank you very much.